I turned to him and I said, you know what? God loves you and I'm trying real hard.
Ooh, burn!
Welcome to Behind the Sins, presented by CinemaSins.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, a weekly look at everything going on inside the world of CinemaSins. I'm Aaron Dicer, and I'm joined as always by Jonathan Watkins.
Hello, hello.
And Danae Hughes.
My kid survives.
We write for CinemaSins and TV Sins and do various other things inside the CinemaSins universe as well. Danae has spoken the very meaning of being a parent. Just help them survive. Just get them through.
Another day.
We'll
probably have it in the outtakes, but it's still apparently really, really in my mind. I literally can think of nothing else right now than my thankfulness that my kid is alive after taking a tumble down the stairs today.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a scary one for a parent.
It is a scary one. Especially when you're like, okay, glad you're good. Mommy's got to go to work. Bye.
Yeah. How long ago did it happen? We didn't really talk about that. How long ago did it happen?
Probably about 15 minutes before I came in here.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah.
4 hours ago.
Yeah. We've been talking.
That's right. That's how long it takes us to actually start the show.
Yes.
We just talk forever. Speaking of not waiting any longer, glad your kid's okay, Danae. Let's
Thanks.
move on.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
Let's
whatever.
move on.
Congrats, Iris fell correctly.
Let's get into the SinSide Scoop.
What's he building in there?
I've got a secret. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
This is a true story.
We're going to take a look at the videos from the week, the process of sending them, how we felt about the stuff that we're sending as well. We'll kick it off in TV Sins land with Rick and Morty, Never Ricking Morty. That's right. We're doing the new season of Rick and Morty as it happens. How fun is this, guys?
It's scary and exciting because behind the scenes, this is something that Aaron's talked about trying to figure out a way to do, but not knowing when was the right time to try to do a kind of quote unquote live sinning experience. And so suddenly it was like, well, Rick and Morty might be the perfect opportunity to try to shift the way that the channel interacts with media and do something new. So it's been fun for me because behind the scenes, I've been watching, Aaron have conversations with the A team and then obviously Jonathan and I. And so we're all kind of trying to get on the same page, like if we did this, how would it work? So it's like a build up that's really exciting. And then the very first episode, which we have zero, just like everybody else, we have zero understanding of what it's going to be, was like ridiculously difficult because it was so meta. So
it was also kind of perfect though, right? I mean, it seemed like the perfect type of episode to launch something like this, specifically with which, I mean, I don't want to like take away Aaron's thunder, but like Aaron started narrating with this video, and it like you couldn't have asked for a more perfect way to introduce that than what we did.
Because thinking about introducing, if you've been listening to the show for any length of time, you've probably heard us mention bringing on other narrators in some capacity at various times. And one of the ideas that has been circulating on TV Sins has been to try to find a way to do it on a show where there's a character or a sequence inside of a plot that has it sort of either having like a multiple dimension or they replace a character with someone else. So like an actor is replaced by another actor, like Will Smith's mom in, what was that show?
Fresh Prince.
Yeah. Just one of those moments, and then kind of like a fun little wink wink bringing in a guest narrator situation. And Rick and Morty also had that opportunity since there's multiple dimensions for Rick and Morty. But Aaron, what have you been thinking? Because this has been something you've been noodling for a while.
It's kind of the 1-2 punch of things we've been noodling for a while, right? It's the contemporaneous sinning as stuff is coming out, which I think is a great move for us to be able to do that, as soon as it airs. So it's one of those things where we've been thinking about that as well as giving Jeremy a little bit of a breather. And so it's been crazy town in my brain kind of processing doing this, but it really couldn't have gone better, to be honest, because the a lot of times when you're putting videos up and stuff, you're concerned about how long before we'll be able to put them up. Is it going to go through a claims process, all that kind of stuff? And it's just kind of flown really smoothly, and we've been able to put them up just, barely over a week after they come out. And that's been, man, I don't know that I would have predicted that we would have been able to do that quickly. So
no, I was surprised because there's some, I mean, we don't ever get into like the real technical stuff, but there's some hoops sometimes we have to jump through. We have to play around with YouTube's requirements. Titties. Yeah. And but this so far, I don't want to like jinx us like Aaron tried to a couple weeks ago. So far this has run pretty smoothly. And hopefully it keeps running smoothly. We're gonna try our hardest to get these out, as quickly as possible. But
the comment section was interesting too this time around, which I know we'll probably talk about just sort of as we go here, but like one of the comments that I read was, this vitriol spitting, like, why did it take you so long to get this up on your channel? And I was like, are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me?
I didn't see that comment. That's funny.
Made me so mad because I'm like, I almost wrote back and been like, well, let's see you try to do what we do.
Oh, you know what,
in the amount of time.
You almost wonder if that was a joke that just didn't come off well.
No. They're talking about Rick and Morty. They're talking about why did it take them so long to drop the second half of season 4. I'm almost sure of it.
Are you sure?
I'm almost sure. Not 100% sure.
Good thing I didn't, just unload on them. I almost did too. I was like, it was one of those where I was like, are you turned into this angry monster? But I really, really try not to respond in anger on comments.
Oh no, there's no point, especially on trolley comments. No, there's no point in giving it back.
Usually, if someone has a question or something, I'll go on and answer questions sometimes. And
yeah, and I don't mind going in the comments and having constructive, conversations either. Even if I disagree with somebody, if somebody is phrasing something in a way that I find respectful as well as valid, that's something I don't mind interacting with. But when somebody's obviously just trolling or trying to be mean or whatever, I'm not, I'm just not going to do it. There's no point in it.
You're not gonna go. I'm trying to love you. Or what was that? God loves you, and I'm trying to.
Yeah, you'll hear that in the outtakes probably. But yes, exactly.
That's gonna be my new go-to comment on YouTubers. I think I'm just gonna be like,
that's right. God loves you, and I'm trying real hard.
Back into talking about this process, though, I really do feel very strongly that this was such a fun way to start off this with Chris writing.
Yeah.
Did you mention that already? I forget.
No, I should say yes. This was Chris and I were the main writers on this. Jonathan Hopton.
I think he's written on every Rick and Morty episode. Because we did a run of these before. If for some reason you don't know that listening.
Yeah. He loves Rick and Morty, and that's a fun thing to be able to have is, and we've talked about that before, but trying to have somebody on the writing team who is familiar enough with the content to some degree. Obviously, from a narrator's perspective, we're kind of trying to play into that less known idea. We play around with that a lot, but having somebody that's writing that understands the content is really helpful, especially for myself, where I can kind of ask a question. Hey, is this normal for this character to do or whatever? And Chris is that person for Rick and Morty. And so, he is going to be weighing in on his thoughts of this process too, as we continue to release these as quickly as we possibly can every week.
I feel like Chris and Aaron, though, have very similar takes on this show, because when I shadowed this, when I was reviewing the script with them, I had a hard time figuring out who wrote what.
Yeah.
And that's usually not... And then especially once Aaron narrated it, then it made it even more confusing because, it was... he was saying stuff Chris wrote or stuff he wrote, and it was just, I don't know. But that was interesting. Like, you guys definitely had a handle on this one, which didn't look like it was very easy to send. But
right,
you
that's
guys
what I'm
found
saying.
some interesting angles to go at.
This show
that's what
comes out of it comes out of the gate like a bucking bronco, and I'm just standing there on the team, holding the rope going, whoo, I'm glad that wasn't my bull.
Did you watch the episode, Danae, outside of the Sins video? Did you actually see the episode?
No, not yet.
So, Aaron, what did you think of the episode?
Oh, I love
I'm
this
just curious.
stuff. I love this stuff.
Okay.
And I know a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot. I know there are some fans who are actually tiring of it. I think Chris is maybe tiring of it a little bit.
Yeah, he had some thoughts. I'll read them whenever you're ready.
Oh, okay, cool. But I personally, this is one of the reasons I love this show. I love that it's willing to be so meta and throw things away. There are consequences to that, but at the same time, there's also a real cleverness to it that a lot of shows don't get to play with. And this show definitely gets to play with it fully. And so I really enjoyed this episode, personally.
Cool.
So what did Chris have to say, Danae, about this episode?
He said, it's interesting watching a show go through a crisis of self-awareness 2 years after the show left, and there was a contract dispute that left it without new episodes. In a way, this almost feels like what happened after Dave Chappelle got that huge contract for Chappelle's show and ended up leaving it on the table. Rick and Morty has always been self-aware from the first episode, but now the writer's conscience is seeping into the series. They worry about not being original. They worry that they could come up with a plot that's too stupid and lose fans. I swear they must have sprung from Pickle Rick. So they hashed out their insecurities into their art, and you get Never Ricking Morty, the quote story train episode that feels like their own Being John Malkovich aboard Snowpiercer. It gives them a chance to say anything goes, and so it does. I just hope that they aren't manufacturing their own license to constantly remind viewers that they're watching a show. For this episode, I really liked almost everything involving the ticket guy. He gets pushed out of the train into some other virtual reality, or is it? Complete with a population that has formed religious beliefs about his severed body rotating around an arcade. Love the touch of the dude who believes the universe will collapse as he has sex, but then turns on his girlfriend, and as soon as he decides just one time, the world indeed collapses. This is a sort of throw everything at the wall and see what sticks episode, and it works for the most part, and it was fun to sin because the stuff that's ridiculous for you to nitpick is often the most fun.
Well said.
Yeah. I don't know that I have a ton to add to that, other than I will say this, and at this point I'm only speaking for myself as a CinemaSins writer. I think we're all aware of that in what we do too. The idea that writing these scripts, I guess 8 years may not seem like a long time to some people, but to do this week in and week out for 8 years, this channel, it's going to feel a sameness that you're battling, right? You're battling this idea of we don't want it to always sound the same, but we do want to play the hits enough that the fans like them. And so there's this balance of not being lazy, continuing to grow, continuing to figure out what you want to do. And I have a lot of respect for a show like Rick or Morty, or any show that continues to try to fight on and do new things and figure out different ways to do it. And you fear that exhaustion thing when you're a creative person, where it's like, have I milked this for everything that I can creatively? And I don't think they're there. And I know I'm not there, with sitting stuff either. But it's one of those things that I could kind of identify with, thinking of it in that way.
Yeah. Well, it's just like a restaurant or something like a Starbucks. They're going to have the same thing on their menu, and people are going to go to it because there's something that they like about the consistency of it. And then they're going to have the things that sort of rotate seasonally. And what you get is you have hopefully that wonderful balance of, something as far as entertainment goes, something that everybody that likes Rick and Morty can come to and enjoy, and not be so, it doesn't change too much. But I did think it was interesting to watch both of you as you're writing the script, and I was watching, because we're all paying such close attention since we're live sinning it, and just to have all the conversations about how are we going, how I'm approaching this one, or this is my thought on this, and just trying to dissect this show that is so self-aware. Again, I'm the girl at the rodeo, just like, cool, got my boots today. I'll bring you water. I will bring you guys water. That's how I'm going to contribute.
We should transfer into kind of the Sins video itself and talk about some of the stuff. And I'll do it by mentioning this, because I think it applies to what you're saying, Danae. And that's the idea that both Chris and I, when we wrote our scripts, had sins in series of sins about how ridiculous it is that we're even sinning this. Like the idea, like, how do you even do this? How do you know what's a sin and what's not a sin when the show itself is saying everything goes? And so I had written a series that involved, like, what are we supposed to do? Just throw cat pictures in, kind of thing. And what was amazing is I actually don't know the count. I think maybe there's 16 or 17 sins that are in.
I think it was 9 lives. I think I remember being like, oh, 9 lives.
Oh, okay, yeah, there may have ended up being 9. I think there may have been more than that in the original script.
I'll figure it out.
But it was one of those things where it was like, we need some sort of visual representation that when we send this, we understand that the show knows. Like, we still have to say it, even though the show is daring us to say it, kind of thing. And so that was a nice little shorthand to just be able, to say, okay, we get it. And so we'll just throw a split-second picture of a cat in a costume up there so we know. It's like, that way we don't have to say it every time.
Yeah.
Well, and you guys did this stuff too, like, this should probably be sin removal, so I'm going to add one.
Right, and that's what I was starting to say was like,
sorry.
those were Chris's sins, and they fit so well with what I was already doing with the cat pictures. And so there are more cat pictures on Chris sins than there are Aaron sins, even though, I was the one that kind of thought of that series. So it was really cool to see us kind of mesh in that way and just be able to kind of put it all together. So it was
that was
fun.
one of my favorite parts of the script is this sounds like it's supposed to be a sin removal, so it's not. Or this sounds like we're going to be giving one back, so we won't. And just kind of playing it all in its head about just how the script sort of reflected how silly the show was in that way. And I thought that was really, really smart.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying the narrator transition was so interesting, because that actually played into it also, and it got us to do something we wanted to do. It just I don't know, it was weird. It was like this was meant to happen.
I haven't really said, Danae, you asked me how I felt about that whole thing, and I haven't really said. It's nerve-wracking, honestly. It's very nerve-wracking. Nobody's going to be as amazing as Jeremy at what he does. I hope to approach a fraction of that at some point. What's really going to be interesting is as it continues, and I don't think I'm breaking any news for people who listen to this podcast, because what we've been planning and kind of where we're going. But I will continue to be narrating these Rick and Mortys, and then even more scripts after that. And so this next one is probably what I'm really nervous. And I'm not, when I say nervous, I almost mean excited more than hesitant, if that makes sense. Because I know there will be people who don't like change. That's always going to be the case. But it's just one of those things where, I think we'll get through it pretty quickly. And I'm willing to take the risk if everybody else is, kind of thing.
I was in the comments prepping for the show, and there's people that are like loving it. There's people who know who you are. There's fans who are responding to people like, who is this narrator? And there's all this conversation happening. And then there was this one comment, and of course it's just one, and it was like, I don't know how I feel about this new narrator. And the response was, don't worry, Jeremy will be back next week. And I was like, oh.
Right. So that's what I'm saying when, what I'm saying is, before I say, wow, thank you so much, I'm humbled by the positive response, because there has been a lot of positive response. Let's wait a few weeks, because the next couple videos are going to be a lot more full of, oh, this is an actual change that's happening. And I think when people realize that, it's going to be hard. I know it. I don't blame people at all. I've been through changes like that in my pop culture. I was with Mystery Science Theater, as it changed main people, and eventually realized, oh, this is still fun, even though I like certain things about this one better than this one. There have been bands who have changed lead singers where people thought the world was ending, but at the end of the day, it's like, oh, they're just different. That's what I'm not trying to be Jeremy narrating. That's not my goal. My goal is to entertain you, to have fun, so we can have fun together, kind of thing. And hopefully at the end of the day, it'll be like, yeah, you're different, but that's not all bad, kind of thing. That's my goal, at least.
Well, we can't be Jeremy. Like, let's pretend like I narrated one day.
Right.
We can't be Jeremy.
Right.
I'm a different person, yo.
And I should say, I wasn't worried about it, because I don't know how much we've talked about this on this podcast. I know we've talked about it on other podcasts, but Aaron was going to be the narrator originally when we did TV Sin. I don't even know, does that Game of Thrones pilot video still exist?
It sure does.
Narrating?
It sure does, yeah.
Speaking of which, Game of Thrones pilot episode, over 1 million views.
Congratulations.
Thank you, everybody. Our first 1 million viewer.
Yeah, that clapping was for you guys,
video.
not for us, okay?
Well, maybe a little bit of both. Maybe
absolutely. So that originally so I had heard Aaron do the narration, so I knew he was going to be able to do it. But for various reasons, we decided to keep go with Jeremy when we launched the channel.
What are some of your other thoughts about the video in general? Who wants to go first?
Danae, why don't you go?
I really, of course, I loved it. I've already talked about just being really impressed with all of the cleverness and intellect of it. And then, of course, the ones that I'm going to be attracted to are the ones that are more like, he said 2 buttholes. So it's like the waste of real ass date was just, I'm like, I had, oh my God, grown, but LOL as my note for that one.
Right.
I loved the one that was like, there's probably a point to this, but I'm too lazy to look it up. And I realized I could do that with my sins. Like, what if I decided not to research?
Well,
I think that only worked. I think that worked in this specific episode.
And
I don't know if that
okay.
would work in every video.
And
We could try it.
that was about the story circle, right?
Yeah.
The train being a circle. Well, there definitely was a point, and the fans will definitely let you know, and they definitely did in the comments. So, yeah.
But I'm too lazy to look it up. Just
Right.
that was
We
kind
admitted
of
it. Come on.
Yeah. I also thought it was interesting because since I watched it today, but I remember listening to the audio because I was really excited to hear you narrate for the first time. I ended up writing a Zorg into one of my sins this week for an upcoming episode. I don't know if it's going to make the final cut, but after I rewatched the episode preparing for our show today, I realized that's probably why it was so instantly in my mind. I was really proud of myself for remembering this Zorg reference. And then I watched it today. I was like, oh, it's just because I was educated.
You're talking about the gun from the Fifth Element?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, the gun from Fifth Element that, like, if you shoot it, it automatically finds its target.
Yeah.
But probably the most standout thing for me in the episode is not even about the script itself. It was the heavy special time.
Yes.
And I had to kind of pause it since I didn't watch the episode fully myself. I had to kind of pause it for a second and think about how frustrated I became that it was called special time. Because as a woman who goes through, this every single month, I don't feel like it's special at all. I feel like it's sort of a curse. But then also, I've been using the word special for Iris when I'm trying to trick her into liking vegetables. Hey, Iris, look at this special carrot.
Yeah.
Or, hey, we're going to go on a special car ride or something like that. And then she's like, oh, it's special? And I realized I'm sort of manipulating my child. And then I felt manipulated by this heavy special time moment. So I had to kind of stop and just be emotional about that and then move on. So
yeah,
it was but the video was amazing and great and definitely one of the most epic, especially considering what we're doing this with this series right now. The
heavy special time section is the best section of the show, and what you're picking up on is intentional because it is Morty trying to tell a female centric story and failing completely. He's because the idea is in order for them to break this story narrative device that is driving this train, like it's the power for this train, Rick says they have to do something that is outside of what they would usually do. And so he's like, let's do, a feminist kind of story. We would never do that. And so it's Morty trying to, complete the Bechdel test, which I loved. Chris's sin on the Bechdel test was one of my favorite things.
Yeah, I didn't know who wrote that one. That was one I wasn't sure which of you wrote, but that was great. And that's really funny that Jurassic World passes the Bechdel test.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yep.
And you guys did the same breakdown with when the show tried to get religious, or tried to introduce the religious element.
It is so sincerely religious in that section.
Yeah.
It's crazy how accurate it is to the sinner's prayer, the emotion of it is sincerely evangelical in that moment. It's very strange. Very strange.
And VeggieTales.
Yeah, VeggieTales and Salty the Psalm book was in there, and all these other cartoon characters that I could identify. I didn't know who the dragon was. That was the only one I didn't remember the dragon. But anyways,
I'm definitely too old for VeggieTales, but I worked at Chick-fil-A in high school, and we had a lot of VeggieTales.
Yes,
material that we gave out to kids and stuff. So I was well aware of it. Yeah, that whole scenario was both funny and also kind of like what. And I thought the Sins nailed that. I don't really have much else to add. You guys have hit all the great stuff about it. The only thing I will say, which is just kind of funny from a behind the scenes standpoint, when you're watching those cat pictures, they're really funny just from a fan perspective or just somebody watching the video. But as someone that has edited an insane amount of CinemaSins videos and TV Sins videos and whatnot, it was just I was just seeing fragments constantly, and it was driving me nuts. I get why this is funny, but it's also giving me a headache.
It was exactly how I imagined it.
Yeah. That was the note I made. I think I was like, Aaron, if this is what you think it's supposed to be like, I am all on board. I was like, but I'm seeing fragments.
I wanted it to be subliminal, even. Like I just wanted, and the comments are certainly a testament to the fun of it, because some people are like, did I see a cat custom? And it's all different times or whatever. And then other people are like, I did freeze frame on all the cats and I love every one of them. And it worked out nice. I liked it.
Yeah. I mean, you guys you guys nailed it. It was really well done. Probably one of my favorite TV Sins videos.
Yeah, especially
a good time.
considering how much is going on behind the scenes to make it possible. We're really pushing outside of what we normally do and testing, in a way, a new format, but not. So yeah, it's a really fun. That's a fun one.
Mondays and Tuesdays are super interesting right now.
Yeah, it is like breakneck speed.
That was making me think about
here.
our conversation earlier about recording. Like, there's no way we could do Mondays right now.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Well, moving on to another piece of animation that is ridiculous, but this time not so self-aware. We're going with Scooby-Doo, A Night of Fright is No Delight. This was a Dicer Watkins script. Jonathan and I wrote on this. This was fun to write on. I had a great time.
It seems so.
This was because of all the movie shuffling and stuff, release date shuffling. This was kind of I can't even think of the term I'm trying to use, but we just kind of threw this in. This wasn't originally on the schedule, and we just decided to do it a couple weeks before. I think actually Made In suggested it.
Yeah,
and I'm really glad they did. It worked out. It worked out really well. This was a blast. Like
I did too. I loved this video so much. You guys had such a fun time with it. I mean, part of it's, I think I've said this before, so I apologize if I sound like a broken record, but I love watching the old animations. They're so interesting to me now, looking back on the foundation of entertainment in that way. I think you guys make a reference to the repeating of, like, the running and the repeating of just certain things, like it's 60% running or something like that. You had an equation in there. And realizing even like Disney, they would completely redo dance sequences and animate over the top of older animation so they wouldn't have to redraw stuff. And it's just, I just don't remember thinking that whenever I would watch older animations when I was a kid. So, and Scooby was one that I don't remember where I saw Scooby or how little I was when I saw Scooby, but I remember watching a lot of Scooby at some point in time, maybe being babysat at Grandma and Grandpa's or something.
Well, and there's no telling which variation of it you saw either. There's so many different Scooby-Doo shows, over the years. I mean, they're still making these. They just had one that ended a couple years ago, like a 3-season. It was like Be Cool Scooby-Doo, something like that.
Well, and I remember, like, as I was watching your guys' video on this, I'm having this, like, of course, nostalgia of these characters and seeing the animation differences. Like, for example, anytime a wall is going to open or tile is going to move, it's always discolored.
Yeah.
You know? And I remember that from when I was a kid, almost figuring the puzzle out. You're drawn to this area of the animation and then, it opens up because your eyeball is drawn there. The ones that freaked me out is when I couldn't tell where it was going to come from, but it almost always was discolored. And there's just so much you can sin about the animation, but you guys found a way to actually sin that any of it makes sense in a good way. Because obviously Scooby-Doo is just silliness. None of it stands up, really. Like for me, I would sometimes maybe want to sin the animation style when I first started working with you guys. And I remember us having a conversation about, we try not to sin the animation style because it's often very purposeful. But if you can find a clever way to do it, do it. And so sometimes it'll pop up when I'm writing something. But in this case, it was just, your guys' sins were just so much fun. I really, really had a good time. But I have to ask, before you guys talk about your experience watching this, who was responsible for this sin about the X-Men theme music?
I think I wrote that. Yeah, I wanted to. I wanted to take a sin off for the theme song, and then I remembered that we got so much shit for not doing it for X-Men.
I laughed
I decided
so
to
hard.
bring that up. The one, though, that I think most people would be surprised by is that Aaron wrote the supernatural sin.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it. I didn't even think about it. Even when he wrote it, when he said Winchester, I was trying to figure out what he meant because I was thinking, like, is he talking about, like, the Winchester house? And then I was like, oh, durr. And people loved that sin, by the way. Like, there was a lot of comments on that sin.
Well, that's a tag team, obviously, because I don't watch Supernatural. And there's a reason everybody is 100% sure you wrote that sin, because you watch Supernatural and I don't.
And I mentioned the Scooby-Doo episode.
Yes, exactly. So it's a tag team. You had mentioned that this was the episode that Supernatural, when they got all weird, apparently, descended into, or again, I haven't seen the episode, so I don't know. So, but as soon as you mentioned that, I was like, well, we'll put that in the script. And then, so I wrote a little note down.
I had forgotten about it.
So, it was perfect. I really like the episode does not contain and then to do Winchester there, I think worked really well.
Do you have like an association with this show at all? Like, or any version of this?
Yeah,
show,
I mean, pretty lightly, pretty much the same as anybody my age would have, which is just that it was on a lot in a lot of different versions. Yeah, and so if you were looking to land on something as a kid, a channel, Cartoon Network, once we had cable, that kind of thing, or not Cartoon Network. Was there a cartoon? I can't remember. Maybe Nickelodeon even. I don't know.
When we were kids?
Yeah.
Maybe. It may be like we were a little older, but it was just on like our local affiliates, like, our local Fox or whatever. They'd show it like 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah, syndication even. It probably was in syndication in some slots or whatever. And I did watch some of it. I always thought it was funny and just goofy, and I loved when the Globetrotters were on because I love basketball, and I thought that was always the best. The Globetrotter episodes were the best things ever. But
like Don Knotts and Jonathan Winters and all kinds of fun.
But not in a way that I was a fan. It was just something that was always around and I enjoyed. Similar in some ways, although this is obviously different because it started when I was kind of growing up, was like Saved by the Bell or something like that, where it's just like I wasn't a huge fan or anything, but everybody my age saw it. It was just something that it's so different now. It's so different now. It's just the only thing that my kids talk about everybody seeing are memes. They don't watch the same TV shows or movies or whatever. It's just such a fragmented pop culture experience for them, and for us, it wasn't like that. Everybody watched the same stuff. It was just
exactly.
It was crazy.
Well, and I will say, if people now want to check out Scooby-Doo and they don't necessarily want to watch the older stuff, there was one that came out a few years ago, like 10 years ago. It's called, I think it was just called Scooby-Doo Mystery Inc. And it was like actually like a convoluted like there was like a main storyline to it, and like it went for like 3 seasons, and it was like kind of detailed, and I don't know, it was very different than the other versions.
CSI Scooby?
Yeah, kind of. I was gonna say more like it had like it was kind of like Lost or something. Like it had like continuing storyline throughout the series. So it was kind of interesting. But I still love watching these. And it could be a nostalgia thing. I've always been a huge murder mystery fan, so like just mysteries in general.
Yeah.
So like this was always an appeal to me growing up. I was also like, as a kid, I watched a lot of like Universal monster movies and stuff. So this kind of had that appeal to me because you had like the different even though they weren't really monsters, but you had the different creature designs. And I love like the color scheme is like just so like, this probably is a nostalgic thing, but like it just makes me happy to like go back and watch these. Like it may like, I just want like some chicken soup and like I don't know.
I
just be like parked in front of the TV.
It has a feeling to it, kind of like if you have a certain smell that brings back memory, maybe a cookie or something.
It's a blanket.
And Scooby does feel safe but also mysterious at the same time, because when you're really little, those ghosts are freaky. So
I have a feeling a lot, especially like people that grew up to be horror movie fans, I have a feeling that Scooby-Doo probably played some part in their development, because that's a kids thing, to say like a horror thing for kids basically. But and this was fun because there was the obvious stuff you could. God, that goldfish, like that drove me nuts. I was like, why did they do this? And like clearly they just didn't care.
Yeah.
they weren't going to go back and redo it, at that, for that type of show. But
yeah, that's
stuff
what I'm
like
talking
that
about
was
that you guys pointed
easy.
out that was really good.
Yeah.
My one of my favorite ones is when you talked about reading a newspaper on a topless motorboat.
That was Aaron.
Of course, then it switches over to, yes, I just said topless motorboat, but I was still like, oh my God, they're literally flying across the water and her newspaper it's as if she's just standing inside somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then the driver of the boat takes the newspaper and reads it.
Freaking funny. It was so funny. Yeah, that was one too. I remember the topless motorboat. I remember Barrett reviewed this, helped us with this one. And I just remember his note was just nice.
Nice.
The other note I remember on this one was a common note that we will see on scripts sometimes from each other, which is I hate this sin and I love this sin, and that was for the dogs don't talk sin. Yeah. Which maybe
Aaron wrote that. I mean, and I thought about it, and I was glad he put it in, because I was like, yeah, we can't. I mean, can we really send that? But then Aaron did it. I'm like, yeah, sure.
It's my favorite thing because it is trolly, but at the same time true.
It's a sin, right?
Dogs don't talk. That is true. And yes, the whole show is kind of based around it, and so it's kind of trolly, but at the same time, it's just it's one, I love the fact that so many people are going to try to argue that shouldn't be a sin. It's like, okay, show me a talking dog then, and I'll take the sin away.
Well, and also within that show's world, it's not like every animal talked either.
Right.
So, I mean, you did have Scrappy Doo and Dino Mutt and stuff like that, but I mean, I don't know.
Anyways,
it's a sin.
That was fun for me.
It's definitely a sin.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
Danae, what else from the video did you see that you liked?
Oh my gosh, so much. The sin where the orchestra was really loud. I remember, as soon as it started, I was like, damn, that music is so loud. I don't even know what was said. And then the sin was about the music being more distracting than Velma's thigh-high socks. So which one of you is into thigh-high socks?
Okay, hold on.
That's definitely Aaron.
Yes. I've written two thigh-high. I have a thing for thigh-highs. That's okay. Everybody can know it. That's fine. But it's one of those weird things, and I guess I'll say this now. When I was growing up, Scooby-Doo was one of the shows that was key in my, let's just say, development. I found Velma and Daphne so attractive.
Of course.
It was one of those. And a lot of people talk about Scooby-Doo as kind of a sexual awakening kind of show for them. And I get that, totally get that. There was a comment that somebody said the original people who animated this, that Velma is 15 in this show, and then I felt icky. Then I felt, I was
no.
And it was like one of those.
I don't think that's true. I think they're adults.
They seem like adults to
possible.
me, but here's the thing: even if they were animated to be that age, I was that age when I was having these.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's weird to remember those feelings and then kind of confront an older me having.
Well, and it's almost like sometimes there's certain things that you're like maybe for sin writing in the future where you're like, ooh, yeah, just a cartoon kind of a feel. And you're like, you know what? My extra filter is, hey, Google, how old was Thelma?
Well, in later versions, there are some versions. I mean, there was one called A Pup Named Scooby-Doo where they were kids. But I mean, in that version, I always got the impression they were college age. But I had I was having a conversation with somebody the other day talking about Jennifer Connelly, in 80s movies, like Labyrinth, where she's 15. But that was my age. I was younger than her at the time. And I fell in love with her at the time.
Sure.
But so I can still look back and think of it that way. I'm not looking at her now and being like, hey.
Right, but there is that same version of nostalgia that's weird, right?
Yeah.
There's a nostalgia for that feeling that's strange.
But I will say, I didn't realize she was underage whenever I was like, okay, who's got the thing? So I was not trying to
you're fine.
Upset the cart here.
No. I was already going to talk about this because it was very interesting to me. And I was wrestling with what, that kind of thing. Now, first of all, I will say again, I think they all look older than that in the animation anyway. I think they look like they are college students. That's just what I always assume. But I will also say that I had a crush on Alyssa Milano when she was in Who's the Boss, and she was definitely way underage, but that's you're growing up.
That's a great example because she's our age. I grew up with her.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. It's a weird thing that we all have to deal with, and I think.
All right. Well, then who made her die curious?
That was me as well.
Oh, Aaron.
She is a legend.
Time out.
She is
Time out for you.
She is a legend, though, in the LBGT community. She is just, a lot of people talk about their sexual awakening. Various sorts of people talk about their sexual awakening with
That's
Velma.
so interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm sure Linda Cardellini playing her in the live action one for people that were younger when those came out.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was for them as well.
Yep.
And I also like the sin about running on all fours, but then like the shape in the door was as if he's standing up, and I just had to pause and go, "Oh my God, they're right."
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like all of a sudden he just stood up. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was, and then Aaron wrote the one about the tomb being Academy Award shaped.
Oh, that was fun too.
Yeah.
I like the sin about the just setting the Confederate flags.
Yeah, we both wrote some stuff there, and I think that was Aaron's. I think. And, yeah, that was because that was weird.
The other couple that I wrote down was the sequence about the fan and, projecting or propelling them forward and being able to lift off and all this different stuff. But then at the end, after this rant, it's like, which is all ridiculous because you need a surfboard to do that. And I thought that was just it was just a clever way of being just as stupid as the show, but
Right.
In our little cine brain way. And last but not least, the show not explaining how they managed to fly or appear transparent at any point in time. That's the kind of stuff that I think is really fun to be able to point out for a show like this. So
that is a huge problem with that series. Like
they do it all
every
the
episode
time.
of that show, they could just it's like, wait, that was somebody in a costume, but they were flying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In fact, Jonathan, you mentioning that one of the reasons you like the show is the murder mystery part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons I always kind of brushed this show off was because of how fake the murder mystery part of it was. Like, it never...
I guess murder's not a good word to use.
Well,
there.
but the mystery part of it. Yeah. But just the idea that they would get to the end and be like, hey, it was somebody in a costume. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, and then like you pointed out, like, and most of them didn't even do anything like that was a crime.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. There was an SNL sketch that was like kind of making fun of that, where like they brought somebody along and they ended up shooting the person that was dressing up, and they're like, I don't even think what they did was a crime.
I'll mention a couple. Were you done, Danae? Was that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll mention a couple others that I really liked. I liked the noticing that Scooby was brushing his teeth with soap. I definitely didn't see that. Jonathan noticed that, and I thought that was really good. And then I giggled at the. There would be a million guesses that would come to mind before ghost dancing, right? Because she berates him. It's like, it's obvious, and it's like, it is so not obvious.
No,
I like that. What about you, Jonathan? Anything you wanted to add?
I liked his eyes are red, which we both actually wrote that. I thought that was kind of funny that we both his eyes are red, they're not green.
Yeah.
And the feeding your organ thing, I wrote that. That was silly and childish, but I thought it was funny, and apparently other people did too. And I didn't realize that, apparently, because that wasn't really nostalgic for me, but apparently that feed your organ thing is like a fan favorite bit from, I guess, this episode. So,
oh, that's fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Animation has definitely tried to be a little more. I think back at like the corks popping, like you pull one and all of a sudden all of them are popping somehow, and you're just like,
yes.
They didn't care. They were just like, we need all the corks to pop, so they're popping.
Yeah.
Ready to move on to music video sins?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
This is 6ix9ine. And
What is this run that we're doing of just twerky booties? What is it?
Twerky booties. That's what culture's all about. This is literally all I have in my notes for comments on this video, and it's all I'm going to share as far as comments on this video, which, by the way, the song is Gooba, and it was a Barrett share script. I just wrote, Barrett is trying desperately to make me lose faith in humanity. That's my only note.
Hey, Barrett was very nice. That's all I'll say. This guy's very interesting, and but I mean, he was just going at the video and the song itself. So he did what he should do, and yeah, this song's terrible.
I know nothing about it. I have nothing to say about it. Did Barrett have anything to say about it?
He said, okay, regarding the music video, this guy has a lot of real-world baggage, including a commuted sentence for a jail term that was supposed to last a long time, some charges of statutory rape, and a lot of gang activity, but obviously none of that had anything to do with the Gooba video we just did, which is horrible enough on its own. The guy's gotten popular for having an outsized personality, but also for palatable songs. And here he's just sneering and yelling out nonsensical insults that any schoolyard bully would be embarrassed to use. But the thing that bothered me most about this video is the lack of originality. Some of that may have to do with the COVID lockdown, but he clearly got some girls over to wherever they filmed this, and they definitely weren't distancing. So I don't think that's an excuse. I'm sorry, I don't know why I found that funny. Basically, it was butts jiggling around, a bunch of middle fingers, showing jewelry, and a bunch of fuck the haters content. I'm not against any of those per se, but they've all been done many times before. I will say I do like the color palette of the video, especially where indicated in the video about the women in the solid colored outfits. Anyway, overall, this video is butt.
I'll agree with him on that. The color palette's nice.
My first thought when I watched this was that I felt bad that I hadn't watched it soon enough to warn you that there was a shark at the beginning, and I wondered.
Oh my god! I immediately stopped. I was just like, "Fuck this video."
Yeah,
that's all I need.
Yeah,
yeah.
I wondered.
Yeah, that one.
Oh, are you talking about the jewelry?
No, there's like an animated shark.
No, it starts with an animated shark. Yeah.
Yeah, a very mouthy, teeny one.
Yeah.
Thank God it was animated.
I remember that now.
But whatever. This is one where when I was talking with Barrett, I think he actually started to go into the comment section on this one, which I don't know that he does very often. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, no, I saw this. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he kind of, for whatever reason this time around, he decided to go into the comments and
that was pretty funny.
And just interact with the fans and talk about stuff. And I don't think it's necessarily like defending the video. It's just sort of being present in the comment section, which I find to be really hilarious.
Yeah.
So he had some fun times there. I don't know if this one feels like it's more like vitriol in the comments. I think it's because the fan base is a little bit, I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely didn't spend a lot of time there.
Hard. Yeah.
Well, and it's like, and I don't suggest Googling this guy or trying to figure anything out, but it's just kind of one of those things where he's done some stuff that's not great. And and
it's interesting.
He has defenders,
because it feels like the defenders are really like hate-filled defenders, and the people who don't like him are filled with hate too. So the comments are just like nasty, like Sarah says, "Why does he look like a unicorn threw up on him?" And then Chris says, "Don't insult unicorns like that." And then it just explodes after that, just stuff like this that's kind of happening. So we definitely hit an interesting fan base one. I really don't have any comments on it either, though, except for it's just,
But I loved what that thing where Barrett tweeted that out about the guy was like making fun of him for like, I don't remember what he called the video. He was just like socially unaware of the MVS video or something like that. And then Barrett made some joke about, what is this YouTube you speak of? And then the guy said, "Oh, I didn't realize you'd read this. I'm sorry."
Yeah.
Apologize for insulting him.
Very common. That is a very common thing when you actually respond to people, is that they're like, "Oh, I was just being a YouTube troll character. I actually like you. Can we be friends?" So yeah, it's
I've made jokes before, and some and the person involved with whatever I was making a joke about has commented on it. Not necessarily like that. Like, I don't think it was that direct, but I'd still be like, I didn't really, that probably didn't come across as funny as I thought it would. It happens. But
yeah, it does happen.
Yeah, it is very common.
Before we move on to the main channel, I do want to say that today, while I was looking at the comments for this video, I did come across my favorite username so far. Can I read it to you?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
This is the name. This is the name. I'm probably totally and completely wrong, but so that means that every time you read it, it says, so like when Josh replies to him, it says, "Hey, I'm probably totally and completely wrong, but I don't think he meant it like that." Like, so every time somebody reads his name, they're reading it like, I don't know.
Funny.
That's just really funny to start off every single thing everything you comment on with that as the preface. That's just brilliant.
Yeah,
that's smart.
I had a couple things in the video.
Yeah, so did I.
If that's cool.
Yeah, go for it.
But is he worried about forgetting his stage name? Just talking about all the 6ix9ine tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, I just don't, like, this guy must have gone through some serious pain. Like, I hope he used like skin ointment and stuff, but or what do they call that, skin deadening, before he got all those tattoos. Because when I look at his, I just think that must have been very painful. My favorite is the tattoo of his face with the tattoos on it on his chest.
Yeah.
That's like Rick and Morty levels of meta. That's insanity. Let it never be said that this asshole is not a role model. And then we already talked about the palette color. I thought it was really funny too when Barrett had the, I wouldn't say mad so much as disappointed.
It's very parental. I loved it. It was very parental. Just disappointed in you. I'm just disappointed. I had a couple too. I for whatever reason, the phrasing of first person to think this is a rebellious gesture in the cliche about flipping off. And then that part you were mentioning about him forgetting his name, what made it for me was the mirror thing where he briefly thinks his name is 96. Just made me laugh quite a bit. All right, let's move on to CinemaSins. We'll start with 28 Days Later. This was a Cher Watkins script. Barrett and Jonathan wrote on this. And I, for the first time, I think, in this podcast, actually watched a movie so that I could talk about what I thought of the movie, because I hadn't seen it yet.
You had never seen this?
I had never seen. I'm not a zombie movie kind of guy or horror movie kind of guy.
Oh no, I know. But this was actually critically lauded.
Exactly.
A lot of non-horror people watch this movie.
Yes, and I just was not one of them until yesterday. Mm-hmm. So I watched the movie yesterday, and I didn't like it. I didn't think it was all that great. And a lot of that has to do with some of the things that are mentioned in the Sins video that I thought were legitimate. I think the performances are good, and I enjoyed Cillian Murphy doing his thing. I think he's fantastic. Brendan Gleeson's great too. Christopher Eccleston is great as well. I just didn't have a good time. So the story didn't.
We didn't
lock
do a
me
Doctor
in.
Who's that?
Yeah,
I just realized that.
Yeah,
damn, you're slacking.
Missed opportunity. Missed opportunity.
I don't really get good Doctor Who vibes when I'm watching his character in this movie, though. So
I'm assuming this is one of those movies that people have already taken their drink for Danae not watching it. Nobody thinks that Danae has seen this movie, right?
I hope that's the case.
Did you watch the video?
Nope.
Okay, I wondered if you would.
Yeah.
I thought this was going to be like a sobriety movie.
Oh, interesting.
But I think it's because there was a movie that came out quite a long time ago with what's her name?
Sandra Bullock.
Yes. Was it called 28 Days or something?
27 Dresses.
28 Days. I wrote a sin. I took it out before I sent it to Barrett. I wrote a sin at the end of the script. It said this movie does not contain Sandra Bullock. And then I was like, it's kind of silly. So
yeah, I guess in my mind I was like, oh, we're doing this like old school Sandra Bullock thing, right? And so so I went to go look at the synopsis on IMDb to prep, and it's like horror zombie, and I was like, well,
I'm out.
I guess my show prep just got a little shorter.
Yeah, I'm not a zombie movie fan either. I should preface that by saying, but I'm with Barrett on this movie. I think this movie's really good until there's about 30 minutes left. I'm sorry, Danae, I did not realize you were still good.
That's okay. You're super okay. I just was, I did read a little bit of like the synopsis that there's something to do with monkeys, and then and then there's a rapist. So that's great.
Yeah, that's the part I don't like. It's one of those things where it's kind of like Walking Dead, where it's like it's not enough that we have like these killer, and they call them infected. They don't call them zombies because they're not dead. I don't think. Although Aaron, I mean, Barrett was saying he didn't really think the movie was clear about that. I pretty much thought it was saying they weren't dead.
I can speak to this. It is okay. One of the things I agreed with the video about. I don't think the rules of this universe are explained well enough that I was able to get invested. However, having said that, I don't think the movie itself is contradictory. I just think it's confusing because it doesn't let you know what's happening, and that's okay if you can figure out contextually what's happening. And if my brain was asking questions the whole time. I never came to a conclusion. So I was confused. Were they alive? Were they dead? How do you kill them? Are they just humans who had never died and they just had a disease? And I think I tried to land there, but that didn't always make sense. So is the basic premise that somebody like got infected by monkeys?
Yeah, it's similar to like it's like a virus was spread. They were doing testing on monkeys. It was a rage virus is what they called it, and some animal activists decided to break in and release the monkeys, and then that ended up spreading the virus. And we took a send off for this. It's a really cool opening. Like the first 12 minutes of the movie is really interesting because it's like like it's one of those great screenplay writing, like screenplay 101 kind of scenarios where they set up everything so well with so little dialogue and whatnot. But this was only the second time I had seen the movie. I had only seen it once when it came out. I thought it was okay. I didn't really think much about it. Then people started talking about how much they loved it, and then I watched it again for this. And
so where does the movie go? Like, is there a resolution that feels good by the end, or is it sort of like apocalyptic?
Well, it tries to, right? It tries to have a happy ending.
I'm sorry. Yes, you're right.
But here's the thing, and again, this is part of my issue with the movie, is because I was confused about what was going on or what the rules of this disease were, I couldn't be as invested in the survival part as I wanted to because I didn't know what they had to do to survive. I didn't know what the point was. Like, what's the goal here other than just running away? And then it makes this second act thing with these military guys who just want apparently women to rape. That's apparently just that's
maybe have a relationship with them, but yeah, they want women. That's for sure. Well, and they don't care how old the women are. I should point out.
Yeah, and that becomes kind of like then all of a sudden that's the main enemy, which. Okay, and so then they just are trying to escape from. There is no when you say resolution, I didn't find any kind of like resolution to the survival part of it or anything like that. It was just they escaped from those guys, and then all of a sudden a plane was capturing them. I don't know.
And there is a sequel. There is a sequel 28 weeks later, but I don't think that was planned originally.
Well, because there is this thing that one of the guys is like, it didn't take over the world. It just took over England, and they're just letting us die here because there's this disease on this island. And I'm assuming that's what the sequels are about, having never seen them.
I've seen the sequel once too. I don't remember much about it. Danny Boyle didn't direct it. I think he's involved though. But I was trying to, so this is a pretty, Alex Garland wrote this and Danny Boyle directed it, and there's a lot of good, Cillian Murphy and Naomi Harris, and which I had completely forgotten she was in this. There's a lot of really good actors. But I was going to say that not caring about the age thing though, because unlike we're not sure about Velma's age, I'm almost positive this one girl in this movie is about 15. Yeah. And they're one of the guys is trying to I just don't get the whole thing. You've got like zombies are infected. You've got villains. I've never really got the idea that we've got to throw in some like human villains too. Yeah. That's never been that's a horror cliche that's never really set well with me. I don't see the point. And the story was already interesting enough. We definitely didn't, not that you ever need like rapists thrown in, but it really felt out of whack in this movie, and it just it brings everything to a halt.
And which is even stranger considering it's the whole point of the quote unquote resolution. Like it's the whole motive. It's the whole movement of the movie is this section. There is nothing else. So it's.
And I guess like Cillian Murphy and Naomi Harris's relationship kind of evolves from that, which is weird in a way.
Yeah, for sure. What did Bear have anything to say about this one?
Yes, he did. He says, 28 Days Later has long been one of my favorite zombie movies, even though they're not technically zombies, and I still like it a lot, but every time I watch the end of the movie, I get more and more annoyed. There's nothing about the Cillian Murphy, is that her name? Cillian? Did I get that right?
Killian.
Killian.
Killian, yeah.
Killian? Oh, I apologize. He, him. Cillian Murphy character that indicates he would go into Savage Ninja Rambo mode at the end and take out not only the entire military regiment, but any zombie in his way. Plus, the rapey stuff at the end is just a loathsome way to end a movie that's essentially about family. Everything leading up to the military sequence is really good, though. The music in this movie is expertly done. There's a song from a band called Godspeed You, Black Emperor, that plays over the scene of of Murphy walking around London that will give you the chills. But the bottom line is that, at least until recently, I don't think Danny Boyle has been able to successfully stick the landing of his movies. And that's what Barrett had to say.
Very nice.
That's fair.
I'll start since they didn't watch it, and Jonathan, you wrote on it. I'll tell you some of my favorite stuff. Mad respect for whoever did Clockwork Orangutan. That's just beautiful because it's perfect. That is one of those perfect word plays where the situation is exactly right. The words are unbelievably similar. Clockwork Orange and orangutan. I mean, it's just it's brilliant. I'm glad somebody found that because that's great stuff. The sin about washing up is really interesting to me because living in COVID right now and watching this movie is so crazy because you watch all these people who are in this viral outbreak without masks on, and you're going, how is the first thing when you know within 20 seconds of getting this blood in your eyes, ears, mouth, or nose that you will go crazy and have to be killed? How is this not the first thing to put on a mask? And
because that's one thing that's different because you don't just have to get bit. Like literally, the blood can touch you.
Right.
Ugh.
Yeah.
You're dead.
Which is more realistic, actually. That is how viruses work.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's how it works. But I was just like, it's just so weird watching this now where we're wearing masks for COVID and that's on our mind so clearly, and you're just watching these people going, you are not social distancing and there's death on the line.
They should be like in hazmat suits.
Right. Yeah. Then the referee call was one of my favorite sins where he calls the fouls on the play and the sound goes into like it's at an NFL stadium and there's an actual whistle, and I thought that was really well produced. That was fun. And the rules not spelled out very well. Sin was great, and I love the notarize them. Like, please, movie, can you just spell out the rules, have them notarized, and let me know what I'm expecting here? I thought it was really good. Hey, guys, we're leaving. See you. Bye. Really made me laugh. Because this movie is full of that, by the way. This movie is full of people screaming when they should be whispering. And it's like, not just for the zombies, but for the people you're trying to escape. And it's just like, why is everybody turning the volume up to 11 when you're trying to escape? You're trying to hide. And I actually forget what sin this was, but I must have thought it was funny. I wrote down, "Hey, Selena, not infected," and I don't remember what that's in reference to, but I thought it was funny.
I mean, I remember the sin, but I'm trying to remember what that was.
There's something about the construction of that I found funny, and I put that in my notes, and now it's slipping my brain.
There's a bunch of stuff like that. Like, there's the part where she just starts like making out with him. He's got blood all over him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's just like, that's
what it was. That's what it was.
Not to mention, she was just almost raped.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was the fact that instead of him saying, "Hey, Selena, I'm not infected," he runs towards her.
She's got like a gun drawn or whatever.
Yeah, the lead-in was like she starts to swing the blade and then realizes he's not infected.
That's it. Yes.
Yeah. Anyways, great stuff. I really enjoyed it. Anything else you wanted to mention in there, Jonathan?
Us pointing out like the NASCAR abilities that little girl had when she's like changing that tire. I just thought that was really funny. You mentioned the referee thing. That was something Barrett wrote. That ended up between him and Jeremy. That ended up being really good. We got the Cliff Booth reference. I thought that was funny. We're getting a lot of mileage out of Cliff Booth from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah. I get it. A lot of mileage. That's nicely done.
You get it.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't do that on purpose. I really didn't. That's hilarious.
That's how I am. It's accidental awesomeness.
Yeah. Christopher Eccleston's, I can't pronounce his name, but his obsession with hot water. Barrett wrote a couple things about that where he keeps like, hot water, like the first, way to get humanity back on track. You're like, what?
Yeah.
And then like zombie like really diehard like zombie fans just entertain me because there's like, you've got the section that loves the Romero stuff. And then you've got the section that prefers like the faster, meaner, leaner zombie. Like these are actual conversations like that grown adults have. And so I was glad Barrett let me keep in the whole bit where I was kind of trolling on purpose with that George Romero and Walking, like that the movie ripped off Walking Dead just like George Romero did, even though both of those things came before The Walking Dead.
Right. Yeah.
And there's a whole thing too where George Romero was like, I think he was suing Walking Dead when alive and stuff. But I had fun just messing with that because I've just always found that like an interesting conversations that fans have of those particular types of films, and I'm just over in the background like, who cares?
Yeah, I have one other thing I wanted to mention before we move on to the final video of the week, and it's one of those things. It was funny, Danae, you mentioned something that made you upset, and you're like, okay, I can move on, it's fine, or whatever. This is one of those things for me, and it shouldn't be a surprise because we've talked about it before. But there's a verb choice in talking about Cillian Murphy's nudity where you say something along the lines of subjected to Cillian's Murphy, and I'm just like, can we not disrespect the penis like this? Like, it's one of those things where it's like when it's a guy, it's like we're subjected to their nudity, and it's like maybe some people like to see penises. Is that okay?
Combined or rewritten? I think originally all I wrote was movie opens up, or like something opens up on Cillian's Murphy, because I just thought that was too perfect. Like we have to like make a reference to that. Yeah, you're right. I didn't really think about that, but
yeah. It's one of my personal
Barrett
things.
And I hate women. You're right.
No, you hate penises.
We hate penises. I mean, I'm sorry. Barrett and I hate penises. We do. We're anti-penis.
It comes from, I understand where it comes. Well, it can come from a couple places, one healthy and one not so healthy. The healthy place is the idea of we're very uncomfortable with our own nudity. Like as men, we're uncomfortable with the idea of people seeing us because we think we look gross. And that's, one of those, that's okay to deal with that. The place that's not healthy is the idea that if you're attracted to a penis, that makes, that's weird. Like it's weird that you would think that is attractive or think that that's normal or whatever. So it's kind of wrestling with those ideas of the human body and just kind of how gender bias plays into that. That's always on my brain in a weird way. So that one caught me off guard.
But what's interesting, and this just happened today with me and Danae, is that I think sometimes when you're workshopping some of these sins, you're not thinking specifically about like what the phrasing means. And
of course, yeah.
There was a script Danae and I were working on, and she wrote something, and then I suggested maybe we change it to focus on, I liked where she was going with it, and then I made a comment like maybe we should change it to something like this. And then when she responded to me, I realized the way I wrote it was actually kind of going against the original point. But at the time, I was just trying to think of a different way to phrase it. So it's really interesting how these things work themselves out. That was just, when you mentioned that made me think of that. And we ended up with a really good sin, by the way, Danae and I, on that script.
Yeah.
When all was said and done.
I don't know what you're talking about, but hell yeah, we did.
It was the one about a character showing that she was actually very strong.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But also Barrett and I are anti-penis. So that's,
it's a very common joke. It's been in our culture for a long time.
To be fair, though, like, I mean, penises are not the most attractive things on the face of the earth.
Says you.
Let's
like, I don't know. That's probably just like a cultural thing, right?
I don't know.
I think cool.
They don't bother me. I'm not turning a movie off because I see one.
Right.
Cillian's he's a beautiful man.
Yes, he is, for sure.
Good for him.
All right, let's move on to Bad Boys for Life.
This is I love this movie so much. I haven't seen it.
This is a Cher Scott script. Barrett and Jeremy writing on this one. I have it.
They did not like this movie.
They did not like it at all,
no,
and they're mad because we told them it was okay.
Well, yeah, and I wonder if that's the thing. Like you're telling people that like, oh, this is surprisingly good. So I wonder if I watched it with that in mind. Like if I came at it the way they did, I wonder if I would enjoy it. I probably would.
All I know is when I went and saw this movie back in the days of movie theaters, I had a great time. Maybe not a great time. I had a good time. I came out of it smiling and laughing. I think Will Smith is so likable, and I think the two of them together are fun. And yes, I think a lot of the stuff they got hung up on is the repetitiveness of it, and that's just never a problem for me if it's something I like. If it's something that I think is fun. Like, keep repeating it. Keep doing the same thing.
And I will say, this is a weird movie for me. And Chris and I did a mini pod on it. If you guys want to go, if some people listening, if you guys want to go find that, if you haven't heard it. And we both liked it fine. I think we both gave it like a B. But I didn't like the first two movies. Like, this has got to be the first sequel where I didn't like anything before it. And I enjoyed this one, and it's mostly because of Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, I would say. I also liked the team, which Barrett and Jeremy apparently did not. But
Yeah.
I kind of enjoyed like the big strong dude that was a pacifist, and Vanessa Hudgens and all that whole crew.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had a fun time with it. That's all I know. I don't know that I'll ever watch it again, but it was fun.
I totally agree. I feel like it didn't break any new ground, but I didn't need for it to have fun. So yeah.
I feel like there are some franchises where it takes this like turn where you could just see it being on TV instead of it being a movie. And as I was watching the Sins video, it seems like it could just be a series, like a CSI series or some kind of a, I don't know. It didn't, but sometimes they just get to the big screen because you got big names in it. You've got a big budget. And this happens a lot, I think, in action movies where you have particular characters that are loved or a team of characters that people really enjoy to kind of go and watch and be entertained by. But yeah, I mean, I think I remember seeing maybe one of these because I remember watching Will and Martin together and having a good time, but I have literally no memory of the movie whatsoever. I just remember the two of them being on screen together and it being like cops. So
can I also
it didn't really last for me as far as like a standout movie.
Yeah. Can I also say that I think it's crazy that they use the title Bad Boys for Life in the third movie. That is a fourth movie title if ever there was one.
And they're probably going to make another one because this did really well. So I'm always going to think this is the fourth one.
Right? It's so weird how the brain does that.
Titling, I don't know why we got away from just putting a number after a title. I don't know when that started, and I wish it never did. Because, I don't know what Fast and the Furious movie I'm watching. I don't know what Final Destination movie I'm watching. When it's the fourth Final Destination movie is called The Final Destination. What the hell is that? And there's three movies called Halloween?
I think at least the Fast and Furious movies put the right numbers in their title.
That's probably a bad example. But I guess because Fate of the Furious, there's an 8 in there. Yeah, you're probably right. It confuses me.
No, I think you're right. I think the number should be in there. I agree with you on that.
Why is Bad Boys 3 a bad title? Why wouldn't you just call it Bad Boys 3?
Because they're bad boys for life, and so it's going to happen
Bad Boys
forever
3
now.
life.
What did Barrett and Jeremy have to say about it?
Oh man, nothing good, as you've already said. Jeremy said so many people said Bad Boys for Life was good, and I was actually expecting it to be good, but it is not. I do not know what happened. I think he might feel betrayed. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it.
Maybe Bad Boys 2 is so long ago, people forget how awful it was, so they see a passable action movie with Smith and Lawrence and call it an A+. It literally just plays all the hits.
Who called it an
movie.
A+?
Yeah, who said A+? Nobody said A+.
We said good.
I was going to say he's actually right about that. He's actually dead on about that sentence until he says A+.
Yeah, I'm I'm not this is the ex machina of action movies. I'm not I don't know. Maybe somebody said it was an A+.
If you say
you guys are sure butthurt over what Jeremy has to say.
Well, he's calling our taste into question.
I'm just giving him a hard time.
No, I am. I am.
You
totally.
guys are the people in the comments right now. Hey!
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
He finishes off his thoughts by saying it literally just plays all the hits the whole movie.
It's true.
So that by the time they do one neat thing with a helicopter, you don't give a shit anymore. This movie pisses me off. And then Barrett says, okay, I'll add my 2 cents. I agree with Jeremy about BB4L. The number 4, obviously.
Yeah.
There were a couple of genuine surprises that I'll leave out because of spoiler reasons that were pretty effective. But then there were other surprises that were weirdly contrived. And yes, I think Martin Lawrence was the best part about this movie. He is indeed still essentially playing the hits. There's one part where he says he's retiring and Will Smith says, oh, here we go again. And that's emblematic of the entire movie. There are things thrown on here that make it slightly more interesting than the others, including a reasonable runtime, but I didn't like it at all.
Jeremy's not here to defend himself, but I'm going to say this anyway. We go back.
It's okay. He doesn't listen to the show.
That's cool. True. That's true. He'll never know. No, it's one of those things we go back and forth and have for a long time about the idea of what makes a movie good. And he comes at it, and I guess I'm kind of defending him in this because I see where he's coming from. He comes at it from a creator's perspective. And so when he sees Bad Boys for Life, he sees it as a complete failure because if he were making it, he wouldn't play all the hits again. He would try to do something new and create something different and interesting. And, I totally understand that. For me, I try to look at it from an audience perspective. And if I'm having a good time, then I think it's a good movie. Then I think it's, it's fun or whatever. So it's like the chef versus the person, eating Taco Bell for the fourth time in a week. It's like the chef wants it to be this new, fantastic experience. And so, Taco Bell is trash. But if I'm having Taco Bell for the fourth time in the week, it's because, well, one, it's inexpensive, but also I kind of like it. And I'm fine having Taco Bell 4 times a week.
But Jeremy's got movies that he enjoys on that kind of level.
Yes,
I mean, we talked about
totally.
like Long Kiss Goodnight and
yes.
Assassins.
But the difference is those aren't sequels. Those aren't doing the same thing over and over again. That's all I'm talking about. He likes his own. We all have our own quote unquote, guilty pleasures or whatever you might call them. I'm talking the difference in what makes a movie good or bad. We kind of disagree on the perspective of that, and I think that's kind of what's happening in a situation like this.
Jeremy has a really cool perspective on, like you said, when he comes at films.
Yeah, totally.
I think the only thing I ever really disagree with him on, and I think you and I are on the same page, is that the idea that a movie is unnecessary. That's a weird argument for me because by definition, isn't all entertainment unnecessary?
Yes, yeah. Well, and that's part of this argument that we've gone back and forth on before, and that's where I started to understand his perspective. The reason he hates Disney remakes so much isn't because they're poorly done; it's because they are creatively bankrupt, and that's a completely different perspective than the audience just enjoying it. Now, to me, I see his point the most in The Lion King, which is not, so creatively bankrupt that it's paint by numbers. It's just doing the same thing over again. But I don't see the same point in some of the others like Aladdin, those kind of things, because I think they are trying, they are fun to sit through and to watch. And there's enough difference that it keeps my attention. But it comes from a creative perspective for him that makes it bad.
It's always, I always enjoy conversations like that.
Yeah,
if we all thought the same thing, it'd be boring as hell.
Anyhow, let's talk about the Sins video itself.
But Barrett hates the penis. That's what you need to take away.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right.
All this.
The takeaway from the show today. Yeah.
Danae, since you didn't watch the last one, why don't you tell us about what you thought about this one?
The video. I was like, I think she saw Bad Boys 2.
No, I don't know which Bad Boys I saw. Genuinely, no.
I don't know. We did when this movie came out, we discussed the CinemaSins video for Bad Boys 2. I guess I should say.
Well, maybe that's what I remember. I don't know.
Which is an awful movie.
As I was watching this one, it really seemed like kind of like what I said earlier. Like this is one of those movies that could be a TV series and be just as interesting, because I found myself agreeing with so many of the sins, and it was very clear that they were like having a really easy time finding the sins in this one. Sometimes when we write, it's hard to find a sin, so you find a clever way of, referencing something, or, you have a fun time with it. This just seemed like genuine, just delightful sins, like real good ones from the very, very beginning. So I had a really good time. In fact, I was having such a good time with them ripping this to pieces that I forgot to write down my notes for like half of the video. But
that's a great video.
But I had a really once it got to the part where he was running on the patio and he had the video showing of the guy shooting him from first person perspective, where Will is kind of like working out. Like, what is he doing on the patio with this really expensive workout equipment? And then very shortly after this, there's a sin about the weights on the patio and all of the, the heat from being in the area, and just what a bad idea that would be. And I was just thinking, man, like, you have to drag that in every single night. That's so stupid.
And heavy.
And heavy. Yeah. Unless those are on some like dolly or something, or like those little wheelie things. You just kind of like put it back inside.
I think what we're saying is working out is not worth it. Like, just forget it. There's no point to it.
Why even try? Walk to your car, drive somewhere, walk inside, walk back to your car, drive home, walk inside home. Workout's over. I guess my workout was really okay before pandemic. Now there's so many more things to think about. You can't just leave. You have to. Anyway, sorry. Back to my sins that I enjoyed. The other one that I wrote down, and again, I apologize. I have other ones, but I don't remember what they're to. Like the stale with a capital, real fucking stale. I wrote that down, but I don't remember anything about that one.
I think it just applies to the movie in general, according to them. So yeah, I think you're fine on that one.
Or I wrote, let's give it all we got, like we don't normally do that. I wrote that down, but I don't remember what it was for.
No, that was funny too. The idea of just that, person in charge. It was the team, and she was, let's give this one all we've got. And it's like, yeah, I think that's the point all the time.
That's
probably
the point, right? Yeah. I liked the part about the drone. I was really annoyed by that. Like, why would this group of people not see a gigantic drone? It's like the size of a bird, just floating in your space. We're going to
look back. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but we're going to look back like we look back at 90s computer movies with drones, I think, like in 10 years. We're going to be like the 2010s didn't know anything about drones.
Yeah. There was a video that I saw on YouTube, and it was like a look into the jungle of where like all of these butterflies are just amassed in these, I mean, insane. I can't even describe how many butterflies there are. And they're all like sort of stuck together. Like if you've ever been in a cave, there's these formations that look like, I think they call them elephant ears, because they just look like these long, thin elephant ears, and they sort of just drape off of. I live in the cave state. I know a lot about caves. Leave me alone. Anyway, like
I don't know. I now know that now I'm terrified of butterflies. Thank you.
There were, I mean, I can't even fathom how many butterflies there are.
That sounds
But anyways,
horrifying.
The reason that we can see them is because of this little drone, and they made it look like a hummingbird. So it's this T-shaped hummingbird. The wing, it's just like droning in, and they covered the little drone blades so that obviously they wouldn't chop up butterflies, which thanks for that. But that's cool shit. Like, that's a cool drone going in there taking high quality video of these places that we could never get to because we would disturb all these butterflies. They would go away, and here we're seeing this massive collection of butterflies. So here I'm watching this big old clunky one fly into a small garage where like all these guys are, and I'm thankful that they're pointing that out because that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But the last one that I wrote down was, what if he's a child at heart and likes Chuck E. Cheese or stays home for strippers and blow?
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I loved them tearing apart the fake funeral, because that is something movies do that is so
dumb.
super annoying, where it's like, we all know he's not dead. Like, how in every second they spend trying to convince us it's a funeral is a second that makes me more annoyed, and it's just like, so I really appreciated that. The sin about the beard lines, where it finishes by like, ha ha ha, loser. I don't think that one just made me laugh so much. And I think the reason is because we're obviously poking fun at ourselves in that moment, for, making such a big deal about it. I love that. The phrase "go to punchies" made me laugh, for deciding to fight somebody. They go to punchies. I just thought that was hilarious. And then of course instead of using the outtake for the James Bond in water thing, actually singing it. There
were a couple of singing moments in this one.
Yeah. And the only other thing I'll mention, because it's so true and it's something we really do look for and you see in a lot of movies, the idea of that last shot that feels so proud of itself for spinning around and, kind of staying on one shot on the different levels, and yet it does nothing but confuse you as to who's where and what's going on. It's completely style over substance, and I hate it when movies do that. So I was really glad to see that get sent too.
And it didn't need it, because that was such a cool set. Like, that was such a cool setup for an action set piece. Like, you didn't need that shot.
Yeah.
It's already got so much going on, and then you have the helicopter and the fire, and it's a really fun moment. And then that kind of ruins at least that couple seconds.
Yeah. What about you, Jonathan? Anything else?
The Michael Bay scene was funny. Just they didn't acknowledge that it was actually, they just, did the ding when he showed up. If you're pulling a Hannibal Lecter, do you really need the witch part? I thought that was kind of funny. Although I will say, I don't know, maybe this is just a me thing, but like where I don't like zombie stuff, I do kind of enjoy witch stuff. So the idea that they threw a witch character in here, I thought was actually kind of fun.
Nice.
But I guess if you think witches are dumb, I guess you probably think the opposite. So
Witches are dumb.
yeah. I want to go to a bad guy party. God damn it, that was really funny.
Yeah, great delivery on that one too.
Talking about all the great bad guy parties from other movies, and Chekhov's manslaughter story. And the one that I'm surprised Danae didn't mention was Just Ask Thomas Jane from The Mist.
Oh my God, I get so many references to The Mist on Twitter. It's like the way to troll me. I interviewed my husband recently for a podcast episode, and I
did
asked
you ask
Twitter
him my questions?
Yes, I did.
Okay, great.
I'm pretty sure I did.
His favorite color, and I don't know. It was like 17 magazine.
17 magazine.
Yeah,
that was really funny. I was like, I was reading through them, and one of them was ask him what he thinks about the ending of The Mist.
Yeah.
I was like, God, I can't escape it.
It's fun though. You have like a thing.
It's
I
fun.
have a thing.
Just happened just now. This just
yes,
in.
much like Bad Boys for Life, The Mist is fun.
The first time in human history somebody used the phrase "it's fun" about the ending of The Mist.
I was talking about Danae having like a personal connection to her fans.
Tangentially related to The Mist.
Tangentially, yes.
Yes, exactly.
I can't say that word.
Tangentially.
That word never sounds right coming off my tongue.
Well, it's even worse when Christopher Eccleston does something tangentially. That's
that is no, that's my life story.
All right, let's head on to keeping tabs.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
Oh, jeez.
This is the most public yet of my many humiliations.
We're each going to tell a story from putting together the content from the week, maybe a Google search, some strange research, everything we know about witches, whatever the case may be. What do you guys got? Danae, you probably don't have much, huh?
No, I actually wasn't on the roster this week. It's just sort of the strange way that the chips fell.
Yeah. I actually don't have much either. I was on the two CinemaSins episodes. The only thing I'll mention is the train, the sin about the different reasons for being on a train. I threw in a personal one on there just because I thought it was funny, and that's the cribbage with a random stranger. My family went on a cross-country train trip when I was in high school, and I played cribbage with this guy for most of the trip and never knew of him before then, never knew of him after.
Which game is cribbage? What is that?
Cribbage is the one with the pegboard where you get dealt cards and you try to figure out the amount of different combinations you can make of different things that are worth points, and then you put the card you don't want in the crib. So it's a fun game. Enjoy it.
My great grandmother.
Yeah. So I used to play with a random stranger on a train. So
there you go.
It's really interesting. We had all those Snowpiercer references, and then the day we're recording, Snowpiercer, the TV show, premieres tonight, which I'm really curious about.
Oh, that's interesting.
That went through a lot of turmoil behind the scenes.
Yeah, I know. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be bad, though. I mean,
nope, not necessarily. I just remember being disappointed.
And Jennifer Connelly, who we've also met.
It's a small world after all.
I can appropriately age enjoy her.
What about you, Jonathan?
I didn't do anything like look up stuff, but I will say, so when we did Rick and Morty before, I watched a few episodes because I had never seen Rick and Morty before we did it the last time. So I watched a few episodes, mainly the ones that we did. But going into this, I just decided to go ahead and watch it. So I over 3 days, I watched 35 episodes of Rick and Morty.
Whoa.
And I was just saying, I don't suggest ever doing that.
Was it so crazy?
Yeah, that's a weird show. You start questioning reality when you watch it in that time frame. But one thing it kept going back to while I was watching them was that when we originally started covering them and we talked about them on Behind the Sins, Danae said this was what she considered to be highbrow entertainment.
Oh, really?
So,
what did I mean by that? I don't even remember saying that.
I think you meant
I don't
intelligent.
remember.
I think you
that
meant
always
smart.
stuck with me because we laughed about it afterwards because we were like, there's like Schindler's List exists. And,
and I'm like, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen that at all.
You have these great ways to you called Dexter PG entertainment. So
it is.
It's for the family, right? I mean, the whole family could just sit down and watch Dexter. So
okay, PG-13, sure.
But anyways, no. But Rick and Morty, I don't know. I don't think I like it as much as most people, and that's okay. I get why people like it, but it was kind of like I felt like an outsider, like I was studying it or something, because like I was like, I totally see why people find these things funny, but I don't think I'm laughing as much as like a fan would. But it was a fascinating experience. I'm not much of a binger either. Like I typically don't binge shows, so that I have a kind of a weird relationship with that as well. So I probably kind of started hating it by the end.
Isn't that strange? I think I talked about almost a very similar thing last week when I mentioned what we do in the shadows. In that binging it, I think made some things stand out to me, and I don't know. I didn't like it as much as most people expected me to. And the thing is, I watched them all, and I did like it, and I watched a new episode this week and liked it a lot more. And so I really think binging. That's interesting. Yeah, I really think there's something when you binge something, especially comedy. I think especially comedy, that it just becomes, you get numb to it or something. And so that kind of taught me a lesson, I think.
That's why I recommended Killing Eve. I got numb to it.
Yes. That's right.
Well, and I didn't talk about this much when I asked Aaron what his opinion of that episode was, because I was just curious, because I was going to talk about it in Keeping Tabs, but like I think because I literally finished like the last season like maybe a couple hours before the new episode, or not the last season, I had finished like the 5th episode of the 4th season, like, so I'd watched all these episodes over like 2 or 3 days, like that Thursday through Sunday or whatever. And so when I watched that the episode the Never Rick and Morty, after having just watched like the previous 35 episodes, that was really bizarre. Like I really did not have a good experience. And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that, because it was like Chris and you were saying, it was almost like a reset button. And that just felt really off to me. And I can't even imagine like if you had been waiting that whole time and then that was the episode you got. I think I was thinking like that thought process too, but I don't know. It was interesting. It was an interesting experience. I don't recommend it, but I get it. It's a fun show. There's episodes I loved, and then there was episodes I couldn't stand. So I mean, I think it's a pretty normal 30-minute, half-hour comedy show. It's very similar to The Simpsons in that way, I think. But anyways, that was kind of, I don't know if that's really research, but it was something I did because we were about to cover some stuff. So.
Yeah, of course. Very nice. All right, let's head on to the comment section.
I want to know what you're thinking.
I appreciate your honesty. You're a real straight shooter.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
We're going to take a look at a comment from this week, something we wanted to bring to your attention. Jonathan, why don't you kick us off in the comment section?
I just had one, and it was for the 6ix9ine video, but it just struck me as so funny. I couldn't resist talking about it, but it was Zoomer Wendy's said after in the 6ix9ine comment section, these Skittles commercials are getting intense.
I had that one written down too. It's such a good one.
There was a lot of nice stuff. We talked about the Scooby-Doo stuff. I had a couple of those we already mentioned, but there was I think I mentioned the Scooby-Doo one where somebody said Daphne is just a cartoon character, playing off us talking about Lana on Archer.
Yes. Yeah.
I thought was really funny as well.
And Leela on Futurama.
That's right.
Yep. We like all the cartoon characters.
They're curvy.
Or chiseled.
They have penises, okay,
Some
Jonathan?
of them do.
Barrett's the one that doesn't like penises. I'm good with them. I felt bad for him, so I felt like I had to
I understand how it goes.
Barrett, I don't know what Barrett's opinion on the penis is. I just want everybody to know that. We have not had that conversation recently.
I feel bad for even bringing it up, so to speak. Danae, what do you got on the comments?
I have 3. Danny Mendez on Scooby-Doo said, CinemaSins, Freddy already has a scarf as an ascot. I don't know why I couldn't read that properly, but it didn't copy over. 100% like I thought it did? And I was like, wait, where's the rest of it? Nope, that was it.
I thought you broke up for a second, but it was
too.
just no. That
I was like,
just,
what?
That was just the way you were reading it.
No, that was just the way I read it.
No, people are very passionate about that ascot. That's for sure.
Oh, I see. So CinemaSins says Fred already has his scarf on, and Fred says, it's an ascot. See, now I can... It didn't copy over?
No,
okay.
nicely done. Nicely
Are
done.
ascots and scarf? I mean, I feel like I know that's an ascot, and maybe I should have caught that when we were reviewing the script, but I didn't. But are ascots and scarves not similar at all?
They aren't really, and I'm not so sure it is an ascot. The only reason it for sure is an ascot is because he calls it one. But honestly, it seems to operate more as a scarf than an ascot to me.
I would agree with that.
Yeah,
So then is an ascot more like a dickie? Like, what is an ascot?
No, an ascot, it is kind of like a dickie, but it's more of a tie. It's more of a formal kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not just like a fake turtleneck or whatever.
Yeah.
My next one that I really loved was from Bo Schwartz on Rick and Morty. All caps says, there's a TV Sins as well? By the same people? For my favorite show? Subbed. So thanks for the welcome. Thanks for the sub. Yes, same people. So that was kind of fun. And then Stephen Curtin on Rick and Morty. What I want to know is whose voice is it that took over Jeremy so Jeremy could recover from coronavirus ID 19? CinemaSins Chris? So here we go again on the assumptions as to why Jeremy is not narrating. This time it involves COVID-19, which I think...
let's give him COVID-19. That's a good rumor to start.
So we'll just say, yes, Jeremy is suffering. No, he's fine. But my favorite thing about this one is that one of our beloved friends from Discord and It Don't Connect went straight in there and was like, let me just clear this up for you. And had a fantastic description of what's going on, and Jeremy does not have COVID-19, nor is he sick in any way. And then he kind of goes into more explanations. I think I just said he. It's fine, but anyway.
Yeah.
None of us have had COVID-19
that we know of.
We have that we know of. We have many other issues, but that's probably not one.
But
I don't
also,
even know what that means.
At one point in time, I don't know if maybe It Don't Connect was using like a speak to text or something, or maybe an autocorrect situation happened, but Barrett Share is spelled CHER, and I love that so much.
I hope that was on purpose.
No, his name is not a request for Cher to do Playboy. That is not Barrett Cher. It is actual names.
I guess
that's not a Cher song.
I guess I've been recording too long because my brain is fried. I can't even read anymore. That was the worst series of comments I've ever done.
Well, I mean, you guys snagged the ones I have except for one, so I did manage to hold on to one. We already kind of covered the why the zombies aren't zombies but are zombies conversation. I had that in my comments. I had the ascot thing in there. This one made me laugh because I think they might be right. But this is in regards to Bad Boys for Life, the sin that where Will Smith says something about just because I slept with your mom, that doesn't mean I'm your grandfather. I think is the line, and we appropriately send it because that doesn't even make sense. The other one left a comment that said, I think the line is, just because your mother calls me daddy doesn't make me your grandpa. And that actually makes sense. I think that's probably right, in that Will Smith just said it wrong, or the writer just meant it wrong, or maybe it was an intentional mistake that just didn't land. But it just I was glad that comment was there because I was like, oh, that's probably the joke, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways,
I would think so. I mean, that makes more sense from the way families work. That's not like, that makes more sense if you're not going for like an incestual joke,
right?
That plays a lot better.
Exactly. All right, let's move on to Beyond the Sins.
To infinity and beyond.
Somewhere beyond my wild history.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
We're each going to talk about something else from the pop culture world that we've seen recently. I'm going to go first this time. I saw Middleditch and Schwartz on Netflix. There are 3 episodes. We watched them all, and I genuinely haven't laughed this hard in decades.
Whoa!
It is one of the funniest things I've ever seen ever in the history of ever. Just for a little bit.
So is it like is it sketch comedy? What is it?
Yeah, just for a little bit of context, they are doing long form improv, What this means is they don't write or script anything before coming on stage. Then they will talk to somebody in the audience about an event that's coming up in their life that they are either excited about or dreading. They will ask them surrounding questions about other people involved in this event, their characteristics, who they are. And then on the spot, they do an hour-long, you could call it a sketch, but it's kind of like a play, and using this information and these characters to design their crazy world. And it could be that I just am a sucker for improv, which I am. I love it so much. I think there's something so smart and clever about people who are good at it and how they do it. And Ben Schwartz and Thomas Middleditch are great together. Their chemistry is amazing. They are both incredible improvers. Improvisational comedians, and they do such a great job. And the balance of the actual storytelling with the moments of breaking the fourth wall a little bit and talking about what's going on in the process of creating this story, it's just they do it so perfectly. And my wife and I were just dying, and it's really funny, and I highly recommend it to anybody who wants to laugh a little bit during this time. So yeah, Middleditch and Schwartz.
I do want to check that out. That sounds really interesting. And I like both of them a lot. Schwartz is one of my favorite parts of Parks and Recreation that, people don't really talk about. He had such a minor character. Huh?
Where did you stream it, Aaron?
It's on Netflix. There's 3 episodes.
Okay.
And I like that there's only 3 episodes. There's not 35 that I have to watch.
Well, I was kind of bummed.
3-day period.
We watched one a night for 3 nights, and I was like, I would watch one of these every night for the rest of my life.
Well, hopefully they'll do some more. It sounds like they're pretty popular. I mean, I don't know the ability. I don't know if they have the ability to do them currently, but when all this starts getting better.
I think, yeah, correct. Yeah, that would be the only thing. But I think it's something they've done not filmed for a long time. That just in Los Angeles, they go on a run.
What was the John Mulaney? It was him and oh my god, that guy from The League. I cannot think. Where they were like they were like older people.
Is it Nick Kroll?
Yes.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about now, but I don't remember what it was called.
I don't know, but they did something where they were playing characters, and I don't think that was improv, though.
No, you're talking about Oh Hello, I think is the name of the show.
Yes, Oh Hello, that is what I'm talking about. That was like a stage play or something, right?
Right,
that they
yeah.
did, or it was like an act. I mean, it was kind of like a stand-up thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just remember that being like that. That's kind of what this reminded me of when you guys started talking about it, because I know Barrett watched this too and really liked it, but I didn't really find that very funny. But this sounds like more up my alley.
I think you'll have a good time. It's one of those things where I want to force everybody to watch it because I'm just so sure it's going to make their day better. You know what I mean? It's just like one of those things where I'm like,
people to do shit. Yeah.
Yeah. I need you to validate my opinions. So please get on it.
I can't. But you do this every week. I mean, I only have so much time in my life. I mean, I've still got to watch Dave and what's that? Danger Man. What's the other?
Future Man.
Oh, the Future Man.
Future Man.
Just do what I do and immediately forget.
That's right. That's right.
No, I write all these things down that you guys recommend. Well, I mean, I don't play games very much, but like other stuff like podcasts and stuff that Danae recommends and stuff. So I write all this stuff down. It takes me a minute to get to it.
Well, what do you want to force us to take in, Jonathan?
Who, me? Oh, well, I've mostly just watched like older movies and stuff all week, but I did check out last Sunday because everything's on Sunday. I checked out the new HBO show, I Know This Much Is True, which is it's a show that's based on a 1998 novel by Wally Lamb, which, funny side story, there's a Wally Lamb book called She's Come Undone that I read over a weekend in college because I was trying to impress a girl, and
of course
it didn't work. But it was a good book. But I have not read I Know This Much Is True, but I have watched the first episode of the show, and it's really good. Mark Ruffalo plays twin brothers. Obviously they're brothers, but plays twins. And I don't know how much I want to give away, but it starts off, one of the brothers is in a library going a little nutty and spouting a lot of religious rhetoric very loudly, and ends up harming himself, let's just say. And then it goes back and it kind of shows you some of the stuff that led up to that. So you have one brother who has some mental issues, I guess you would say, and then you have the other brother who's a little more stable, but definitely still has some baggage and some stuff going on. And I'm not positive where the show's going because I haven't read the book and I've only seen the one episode, but I can tell you from the episode, it's really well done. Mark Ruffalo is awesome. I have a feeling this is going to be like one of his best roles when all is said and done. That's kind of the feeling I get from it. But like I said, it's kind of like, I think it's more than a wreck of Warren. I mean, I think I'm definitely recommending this, but not knowing where it's going to go from here. I mean, I can't honestly say that it's going to completely work out. The only negative I would say I took from the pilot was that there's a stepfather character that is very generic. And this might just be a personal thing because I actually had the luxury of having a wonderful stepfather, and I know that's not always the case. But I think I'm more easily offended by the like abusive asshole stepfather character, just because I don't know. It kind of gets old. But they even kind of do something interesting with that character, like because they show some of the stuff of them as kids, and then they go back to them as adults. So they kind of even do some interesting things with Helm that I wasn't expecting. So I can't, like I said, I can't really say much about it because I don't want to give anything away. I think you should just watch it. But I mean, it's very typical of HBO programming. It's good drama, and if you really like Mark Ruffalo, I would highly recommend it. I'm really looking forward to seeing the second episode tonight. So I guess that would be my recommendation for this week. I know this much is true.
I was hoping to check that out at some point, so I'm glad you brought it up. It kind of slipped my brain, but yeah, that's then that's out weekly, right?
Yes, yeah. I think it's going to be 6 episodes. Okay, I believe is what it's going to be.
What about you, Danae? I
have a record warrant for a game. A couple weeks ago, I re-downloaded an old game that I hadn't played in quite some time. I will say the game is called Draw It, and it's basically my brain is dead, guys. I have nothing left in my brain. It's all gone.
Pictionary?
Yeah, that's the one.
Listen, when your brain goes down, I got you.
Thank you. So yeah, Pictionary with strangers. It's
on a train playing cribbage.
It's a really, really clever game. Like I really want everyone to have this. I want to play this game with people. It's
you and Aaron so are so
fun.
Forceful.
But I ended up deleting it, uninstalling it after like about 7 days because the ads are a bitch, and I cannot play a game. But maybe you'll like it. I don't know. Tell me what you think. But it's got such a great foundation because you have 3 choices of what you can draw. You can kind of choose what you want to draw, and you get coins based on the difficulty level, and then you can spend those coins and get even more colors and to get even more like intricate with your drawings if you want to. But the whole point, of course, is that whomever you're drawing for understands what you're drawing. And so when I downloaded it, I got really excited because I was so looking forward to playing this game that I made the mistake, so please don't do what I did, of starting games with people because I was like, oh, I want to play. And since I didn't have friends to play with in real life, I'm just, connecting with whomever is out there in the world to play with. And by about the next day, I had 17 games going with people, and that's just too much. It was a lot. And then there's like this pressure to have a streak with them where you continue to kind of go on to the next round together or whatever. And some people are terrible at this game and they can't even draw ice, and so there's just this weird pressure. And then there's like all these ads that are constantly popping up, and it becomes a lot. I think
Can you just buy the game though? Is that an option?
I couldn't figure it out. Usually I can figure that stuff out, but I didn't see an option where I could kill ads. If there is an option to kill ads, I maybe would actually download it again and then try to connect with people very strategically to play. But I will also say, I've said this before, I have a Note 9, and so I have a stylus. So I can kind of, I think, draw maybe even a little bit easier than I would with my fingertip. So it's definitely one of those games that may be really, really annoying, but there's part of this game I love, and that is I really enjoy communication. I enjoy conversation and trying to figure out how to succinctly say something, which might surprise you since I tend to ramble. But my goal, I think, is to try to get to the point as quickly as possible while also making sure that everybody is on the same page. So to come up with a way to draw something where you understand that I'm drawing the word golf and being a terrible artist, but like I'm so pumped that you like guessed golf because that's I drew that. That looks like shit, but I drew it and you got golf. I mean, I was just thrilled until it became overwhelming and annoying because of the ads. So that's my Recca Warren. It's a game called Draw It, and feel free to let me know how you feel about it if you decide to try.
I don't play a ton of games, a ton of mobile games, but when I feel like ad insertion has gotten a lot worse than it used to be because I see my daughter playing stuff, and it's just like every 2 seconds. I was doing a crossword puzzle the other day on an app. Halfway through the puzzle, I got a fucking ad.
Yeah.
I'm like, you can't just let me finish the puzzle.
Oh, and it's so bad because now the ad people, like you'll have to watch a 30-second ad. And so you're watching it and then the X will appear after 30 seconds. And so then you can click the X and you can go back to your game. There are people who create their ad, they have a fake X in one of the corners. And then when the ad actually stops, they move the ad. So you end up clicking on what is now a button to go download their game. Little fuckers. And it's just, I mean, it's brilliant. It's smart, but it's so frustrating. And of course, you can't control what types of ads you're seeing. And I've talked about this before with it just gets really, really annoying. And that's the fastest way out for me is if there's no way to enjoy a game. But the idea of being able to draw with people and guess, man, I just wish that there was a way to make that work. So anyway,
they must have they must have done the math at some point, right? And the idea of losing people is less costly to them than not showing the ad, right? Because I'm with you. If a game or even a streaming service, if they don't have an ad-free version, I'm out. Like I just don't. I am wanting to give you money. Please understand this. I want to give you more money, but you're not giving me the opportunity to. And they must have done the math that says my $4 or whatever to not have to see ads isn't worth it to them versus just showing ads, necessarily. So I don't know, because like it's just nothing more frustrating than I want to pay you something to make this stop and you're not letting me.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. That's going to wrap it up for Behind the Scenes this week. Don't forget to make sure you're subscribed and go ahead and leave a comment or rating as well. You can hang out with us on Twitter. I'm at Aaron Dicer. She is at Danae Says.
DENEESAYS.
And he is at Sam Loomis 13. So for Jonathan Watkins, Danae Hughes, and myself, we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Send any feedback to behindthesinspod@gmail.com and be sure to subscribe or message us at Twitter. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
Okay, now tap. Take that, computer! Fucking own you! I'm so confused. How could we see you before? I'm confused.
Okay, so the video was coming through my laptop last time, but all the audio has to go through the main computer to record the system we have. So if it's the same place we're recording audio, there will be no video.
I'm not following.
All right, let's take the current example, right?
Oh, no. So, we're going to have a teaching moment. Iris fell down the stairs today.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's always scary.
God, it was so scary. I hear a thunk, 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 like this, and Justin's yelling, stop, 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 stop. And I'm like, I literally just chucked my computer across the couch and ran. And then I come around the corner and I'm looking down the stairwell, and there at the bottom of the stairwell is Iris. And she's like, and I'm like, oh my God. Like I'm downstairs before I can even blink. Justin's downstairs in an instant. He picks her up and scoops her, and she just takes that like really shuddered breath and then screams at the top of her lungs.
Yeah.
We put a baby gate around the entrance to the stairwell. And we did that because she had started riding her tricycle that we got her for her birthday around the house.
The Shining Trike?
Yes.
Yeah. Danae's house is the overlook.
And she would ride it into her room and then do a U-E and then start riding out. Well, the stairwell is almost just directly across from her room opening. So it's like the door a little bit of space. And then I was just envisioning her just tumbling down the stairs in this tricycle. Mm-hmm. So we added this measure. Well, she loves to go down the stairs. And so she always asks if she can go down. And Justin usually says, no, wait for me. But today he said, okay, wait on the top step. And he says, I'll be right back. And he went to go grab her water off of the table. And I guess she turned around and lost her balance and just went backwards.
Wow.
Yeah. She didn't have any trouble. I mean, after she calmed down, didn't take her too long. I asked her if her body hurt anywhere. And then I had her walk a little bit and tell me if it hurt. And then I pushed in on her ribs a little bit to see if anything was tender. Mm-hmm. And then we just basically spent the rest of the time. And I asked her if she was scared and if she was okay. Like, tell me what happened. And she recounted it. And as she was talking about it, she starts crying because she's like, I'm so scared. And then she wanted to be carried back upstairs. And about 12 seconds later, she wanted to go back down on her own. So she's fine. I did ask him, I said, what were you, like, why were you yelling at her? No, or no, stop. He goes, I do not even remember saying anything. I was in panic mode. I was watching her tumble down the stairs. And since I couldn't catch her, I was trying to coach her.
Stop falling. Yeah. Which actually, that's the thing, man. I think kids do that too. They go with the fall.
Justin's like, gravity, stop gravity.
Yeah.
My daughter fell off when she was potty training, she tried to stand up and she was really tired because she'd just woken up and she fell over and hit her head on the bathtub.
Oh,
jeez. She had a Looney Tunes, which we found out was a good thing, but she had a Looney Tunes knot coming out of her head.
Oh, Lord.
But does that mean it was saying like, what's up, Doc? Or I don't know, Looney Tunes? I don't have...
Like a bump. But they say if it's an external bump, like that's actually a good thing, because then you don't have to worry about there being something going on inside.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was freaky.
I tell you what, though, I'm really glad she's so good at communicating because she, I said, do you hurt anywhere? And she said, my side hurts a little bit, but mostly it's on my head right here. It's so tender. She's 3. Well, I wish I could instantly pull up this picture and show you, but we have this like an armoire thing, that we keep all of our linens in. And it has about 2.5 feet underneath it that's just open, and we'll be playing hide and seek with her, and her top of her body is like underneath it, but her butt and her legs are sticking out.
I look back on with our boys, like 4 boys. The fact that we have so few stories like that is kind of mind-blowing to me.
Yeah. Oh, except for that one time they tried to make your child get hit by a van in the street or something.
Yeah, but nothing happened.
That's true.
So, I mean, we've just been very fortunate. There was the only thing I can...
Yeah, I got hurt all the time.
I know. I mean, yeah, we all did. Well, you know what? Yeah. Technically, I didn't. My only trip to the emergency room growing up was a story I've told before about my brother dropping a cat on my face while I was sleeping.
Oh, yeah.
So that didn't really have anything to do with me. The only story we really have that I can remember, I bet Jen remembers more than I do. I honestly forget this stuff and move on pretty quickly. But I do remember Austin and Justin when they were like, I'm going to say 5 and 3. Coming to the front door from the garage and Justin like screaming and crying, and Austin being like, I sprayed this in his face, and it was wasp spray. It was like wasp poison kind of thing or whatever.
Gee.
And so it was like, so
yeah, just walk that off.
Right? So you're just like, okay, so as a parent, you're like, my child's going to be blind. Like, my child just blinded my other child. But thankfully, I think he had his eyes closed or whatever.
Oh my gosh.
But we rinsed out his eyes and he was fine, and we took him to get a checkup and everything was good.
That's scary.
Well, you said fearless, which was actually Justin's nickname growing up. The incident with the wasp spray, we were getting on Austin, who's older, just being like, how would you do that? And he's like, Justin told me to. He wanted to see what it would feel like. And I'm just like, yeah, that makes sense. Now that I think about it. After our 4th, Jen had coverage that I didn't have healthcare wise, and so she did it.
Gotcha.
I would have been glad to have done it, but it was going to cost money, as opposed to her being in the hospital having it done when she had the baby didn't cost us money.
I have real sensitive smelling, which is weird. I can't smell well with some things, but burning is I don't know. I don't do well with that smell.
That is such a funny, that whole statement after our conversation on vasectomies was so interesting to me, because it was like, I am very sensitive. So then my brain's like, is he going to talk about how sensitive his nether regions are? And then you said to smells. And I was like, what kind of smells are we talking about at vasectomies? And then you're like, burning. And I'm like, he's talking about the burning of his vas deferens, that he is worried about how that's going to smell. That was amazing. That was a beautiful journey, Jonathan.
Like, the idea of smelling like my testicles burning or whatever, whatever you're burning at that point.
It's not your testicles, but that's
weird.
Okay.
It's like, it's not testicles. That's why after I said that, I'm like, that's stupid, but whatever it is. But you're just smelling like yourself cooking. That's weird.
Justin doesn't remember anything because they drugged him.
Oh, Justin had him put him out.
Right.
Didn't put him out. He was just real happy. He was like, whatever you want to do, man.
Well, maybe not whatever. Maybe
watching Justin slowly succumb to what was the drug that they gave him? It's like a happy drug. It's like
ecstasy.
Yes, Aaron.
Have we talked about the fact that there is something about insurance companies that creates the best jingles ever? Have we ever talked about this? Have I mentioned this theory? Insurance company, if you think of like the most memorable jingles commercial wise in the history of mankind, and you do the top 10, like 8 of them are insurance companies.
And
it's
this
crazy.
is like national ones. And like
I can't think of any right now. Give me what's an example?
American Family Insurance. We are farmers. Bum 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 bum.
Yeah, that's
like like all the insurance, like it's just Nationwide is on your side. Mm-hmm. Like it's crazy to me that
877 cash now. Wait. The greatest thing that I'm learning throughout this entire thing is there's just such a journey of not taking anything personal.
Right.
They don't know what they're doing. And I remember having some friends and who would say things like, "Oh, she knows what she's doing." I mean, to a certain degree, kids know what they're doing, like manipulatively. Like I know Iris knows what she's doing when she's like, "Mom, can I watch Lion King, please?" I know what she's doing there. She has learned the art of an adorable please, and I can appreciate that. But when it comes to like her highly emotional, volatile reactions, I don't think she has the capacity to just contain all of that yet. So I just don't take it personal. So if she says she wants pizza and then I make pizza and then she doesn't want pizza, I don't take it personal. I'm just like, hey, sucks to be you.
The key will be
she gets over it.
Not to take it personal when you're 100% sure they mean it personal. Like
I think that comes later.
Yeah, that's coming.
I think that comes later.
That is coming for sure.
My mom took me out onto the porch. I'll never forget it. I was 6. I was little. And we went on the front porch swing my dad had built. And she said, we yell at each other a lot. And I don't want to keep doing this. And in my manipulative 6-year-old brain, I remember thinking, I've won.
You just got through saying that your kid doesn't think that way, and then you think back and like, oh, I thought that way.
I know, right? Well, Iris is 3,
That's
so
true.
I think
but you're only 3 years away.
We're still real early.
You're halfway there.
It's coming. I told Iris yesterday, I said, Iris, I love you unconditionally. I love you to the moon and back unconditionally. And Iris goes, Mama? That's what Daddy says to me. That's what Daddy's supposed to say to Iris, not Mommy. I was like, okay. I thought I would just try to say something sweet. I like that phrase. I think it's adorable when you guys do it. Apparently, it's just for them.
Yeah.
She wrote her name on Tuesday for the first time, completely independent with no assistance. Legibly wrote her name.
That's awesome.
So I'm very, very proud of her, and I'm glad that she didn't die on the way down the stairs, because that would have really been a bummer.
Yeah.
Understatement. Yes.
That would have not been good. Yeah, I know. I only have the one kid, so I don't know any differently, but I'm really glad I don't have a dumb child. I can't imagine how frustrating
it's not bad.
That would be.
It's not bad. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
There's something to be said about having like a big family like that. Like that's really cool. And I think especially like in like 10, 15 years, like when they're all older and they're having their kids and they have careers and you know what I'm saying? Like that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, you know, it's front loaded with a lot of crazy, especially when you have them all over the course of 6 years. And so we look back even now and are like, how did we survive? Like, how in the world did we even get here? And you know, it's just you do what you have to do. And yeah, but we love it. We love all of them. And despite how we joke,
well, that's good. That's a lot of testosterone in one house.
It sure is.
Although Aaron doesn't have a lot, so I guess that probably
they
helps.
make up for my femininity. Which I've become more and more proud of over my life.
Going back to that femininity I know you didn't mean it that way, but like you're just a well-rounded person. Like, I mean, I just noticed recently, like there's this whole thing about like, you know, the people refusing to wear masks and stuff. I just, this whole like I'm not manly bullshit.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Drives me insane.
Yeah.
Like what the fuck is manly? And if it's what these people are telling me it is, I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah, like, there's a...
Fuck you.
Get him, Jonathan.
There's a little bit of irony in your response to not being manly enough. Just a little bit of irony there at the end. But I totally jive with where you're coming from. And the good news is I was raised to be well adjusted enough to be confident about who I was. And so even when people would call me a wimp or, you know, whatever, it didn't bother me. I was who I was.
Which is hilarious because you're like 7'4". I don't know why anyone would call you a wimp.
Because I don't fight. I don't like to fight. I'm not aggressive.
You don't need to. Nobody's gonna fuck with you.
He's a pacifist.
Yeah. Even verbally, you know what I mean? Like it's just I'm not aggressive in those ways. If you're coming at me even with your words, I'm more likely to ask if you're okay than I am to come back at you. It's just I don't know. It's just and I'm thankful. I really am thankful. I do think it's a positive thing. It's just it's definitely not what when I was growing up, what was considered to be male. Like, you know, men were manly and did manly things, and I don't know. Boys will be boys and fight each other and all that kind of stuff. I do remember playing basketball and going against a really aggressive team, and it was obvious their coach had told them to focus on me and just beat me down. And they had one guy they would bring off the bench, and every time down the court he would just like be really physical and knock me over and push me and that kind of stuff. And I just remember my responses to him in that game, like I think he threw me on the ground once and went, "You smell, Dicer." I was like, and I said, "Yeah, that's why God gave me a nose," or something like that. I'm
just picturing you like with your comebacks, and even in a scenario like that.
And then
the coach told the guy to sweep the leg.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. And then he hit me in the side one time, like a little like kidney punch almost, under the boards. And they called the foul, thankfully. And I turned to him and I said, "You know what? God loves you, and I'm trying real hard."
Ooh, burn.
That was as aggressive as I ever got. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just me.
I'm sorry. My husband just decided to walk into my recording studio while we're recording the show.
What's up, Justin?
Is there something that you need, babe? No? Then get the fuck out. Oh, so you do want something. You want to completely just stop the show. Okay. Say hi.
Well, hello, everybody.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
I'm guessing my child's okay? Yes. Yeah, she's somewhere. She's good, he says. Oh,
good
my
deal.
Gosh.
What's Jonathan's part?
Jonathan, what would you...
Is Aaron a cyborg? What the hell is that?
When I cover my mic like this, I sound like Kylo Ren.
You do!
Oh, it does sound like Kylo Ren, you're right.
That's kind of cool.
Give me a good Kylo Ren line.
Penis.
All right, let's insert this, shall we?
Woo-hoo! Like a steak knife in an ass.
Oh, look, I found my out.